To be honest, you can have an absolutely garbage site, but if the shopping cart works, we'll want it enough, they will figure out how to get through the ordering process.
I love your universal truth that you're never, there's no finish line, right? You're always making improvement. It reminds me of the Kaizen philosophy, the Japanese business process improvement. You're always sort of looking for ways to get better. And I think
basically just the front end sales channel. He developed a strategy because in his own business he wasn't profitable with the strategy.
Well, it's clearly working wonders for our clients, and it's crazy to me how many agencies don't know about this at all.
All right, welcome back to another episode of The E-Com Leader. I'm here with my co-host Kyle Hamer. How are you, man?
I am doing well.
You ready to rock and roll here?
I am. I love these conversations.
Good. Well, we got a good topic today. We're going to jump into a little preview, a glimpse into the revised and expanded edition of Shopify Power, new book that's coming out. And we're going to jump right to page 20 and talk about a great e-commerce topic, which is improving your conversion rate optimization. And this book is really one of the primary parts of the whole book is all about conversion rate. So there's so much we can't talk in one podcast about all the content. We're just cherry pick a few ideas here and talk about them and hopefully get you all some new insights and ideas about how to improve your conversion rate. So Kyle, what do you think? Is this a pressing topic for the clients that we're working with at OmniRocket?
Every day. I mean, it's what it comes down to. It's like, I need traffic and I need that traffic to convert. And those are the conversations, right? Sell more products, and it is an ongoing process, which we are going to talk about. Let's jump in and let's go.
Okay, I'm going to start with what I'm calling the universal truth of conversion rates for any Shopify site. It's true for any e-commerce site. There is a universal truth, and are you ready for it?
I'm blowing my mind.
That truth is, regardless of what your conversion rate is today, you can always improve it. There's always something you can do to improve your conversion rate. And over the years, we've worked with so many clients. I mean, we've worked with clients that have conversion rates that are just like infinitesimally small, 0.1 or 2 of 1%. And they're trying to grind it out and make that work, And then we've worked with other clients and we have the screenshots to prove it. It was like 80% conversion rate. And we've got everything in between. And the reality is everybody who's in e-commerce has an opportunity to think through what's happening on their site, how can conversion rate be improved? And we're going to mention a good number of tips and techniques in this conversation doing that. But I was interested as I was writing this updated edition of Shopify Power to really find out what the new and real data is on actual conversion rates across the entire Shopify platform. As it happens, Shopify released those numbers on July 26, 2023, in an in-depth article on conversion rate. And across all Shopify sites, the average conversion rate is 1.4%. And, you and I used to tell people it's 2%, but just like as a back of the envelope kind of average. But it's actually worse than that, a lot worse than that. It's 1.4%. And then their top 20% of stores. So if you're in the top 20%, you have a conversion rate of 3.3 or higher. And so that's site platform-wide, system-wide across all Shopify stores. So you can immediately look at your Shopify analytics and figure out how you're doing against the average and whether you're, in the top 20% or not, just by those benchmarks. What's your thought on that? Does that seem low, or is that not surprising to you?
No, I mean, I think if you sort of take all of the Shopify sites that are out there, and we've seen our fair share of them that we're like, ugh, this one, I can understand why they're struggling with sales, because this one is not optimized, right? So if we think about it from that standpoint of all of them that are out there, I could see that being 1.4. But 3.3 for top 20%, I would always think, well, maybe that could be a little bit higher. But getting your conversion rate up is definitely a challenge.
Yeah. When I was writing the chapter of the book, I just looked across all our client sites just to see where everybody was at, because we track this for all our clients, monthly, and have all of them obviously on a growth plan and strategy for growing their conversion rate numbers. But the worst performing client, when I pulled this, was 1.17%. And that was a client that we just had started working with. The average across all of our client sites was 5.7%, which seems really high, but that's because several of the sites pull it up, they really kind of increase the averages. But so we've got a good number of client sites that are doing, really, really well, way above the, just that top 20 benchmark. But again, to the universal law, it doesn't matter what your conversion rate is right now, today. It only matters what strategies you can employ to make it better tomorrow.
Yep.
And this title and for this chapter in the book is Little Hinges Swing on Big Door, or Big Doors Swing on Little Hinges. And this chapter is called 22 Little Hinges. And so there's lots of things we can talk about that improve conversion rate. There's basically a grid that I share in this book, just described visually. It's kind of like a 4-quadrant grid, although it's kind of a circle. It looks like a CD ROM from back in the day, but it's got 4 sections to it, or 4 quadrants, that talk about 4 different styles or strategies for conversion rate optimization. The first one is your site features and functions. What's actually technically happening on your site? The speed, the visual quality of your photos, embedded videos, the copywriting, everything on your site, is the number one thing in the first quadrant. Second quadrant is what you might call intensity of desire on the customer side. Like, how badly do they want what you have? Because to be honest, you can have an absolutely garbage site, but if the shopping cart works and people want it enough, they will figure out how to get through the ordering process. And the intensity of desire goes a long way towards conversion rate optimization. And that's completely disconnected from what's happening on your website. It's all about the product and brand and the strategy, all that. So that's the second big quadrant we could talk about. The third one is the quality of the traffic. And you know this really well because you run Facebook ads and other ad platforms for clients every day. But the quality of the traffic directly increases or decreases your conversion rate. And a lot of times, if you're really trying to expand and test new ads and find new audiences, those are conversion rate suppressing tactics. You need to dump a lot of cold traffic onto your site. You're going to suppress your conversion rate. And then the fourth one is trust, the degree of trust. How well do people know, like, and trust you? Do they believe that you're the real deal, that you're not going to scam them? Do they have a high regard for your return policy and your shipping process and all that? Do they really believe that you're going to execute? And that directly impacts conversion rate. So those are the 4 big quadrants. What are your thoughts on those, and which ones do you want to jump into in this conversation?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love your universal truth that it's never, there's no finish line, right? You're always making improvement. It reminds me of the Kaizen philosophy, the Japanese business process improvement. You're always sort of looking for ways to get better. And I think that is at the heart of this entire process, because to your point, you could send some traffic you're testing that may not be ideal, and in the short term suppress that. But then you also I know we have a client who works with influencers, and he has an influencer that when she promotes his stuff, his conversion rate's 15-18% over the period of time when she's converting. It just blows his conversion rate up a massive amount.
And it has nothing to do with what he did on his website. He didn't change anything technically. No. It's all completely and totally about the quality of the traffic that's coming in.
Yeah, and the intensity of desire, right? So go back into the desire. She builds this insatiable demand for this product and how she markets it. And then when she unleashes her followers on it, they just go bananas. And so, those get factored in. But yeah, let's jump into sort of like the core. Let's talk about site stuff, because that is stuff that's when people think of conversion optimization. I think that's what they naturally go to. It's like, oh, I need to make site improvements. And we can talk about some of those pieces for sure. Get started.
Sure. Let's just rattle off a few that come to our minds. I mean, you've got some notes. I've got some notes in front of me, but let's just cherry pick a few things. So, when I think about on-site conversion rate, one of the things that I've seen clients make huge errors in and mistakes in, that we just walk through people's websites with them, is that they literally don't have their Shopify theme configured in a way that has their checkout process elegant. They use like different themes have different functionality, like the quick cart pop out and different things that are kind of weird, clunky, functional things. And so to me, the first thing I look at is like, and I know it sounds stupid, I know this is like super basic, but how easy is it from a product page to just hit buy now or check out, and then complete, fill in your info, complete your order. And if your Shopify data is already on, it's stored by Shopify for purchasing, then, it could be super elegant. But if it's not, then the question is that a theme issue or just a configuration issue? So the first thing I always look at is just like, go buy something on your website and just make sure it is absolute simple, and that your theme is rigged up so it's slick as a whistle for people to just get through the process. And of course, Amazon's the undisputed champion of efficient checkout. On mobile, on desktop, they're just so good at it. So to me, that's the number one thing: is buy something from your own Shopify site. Make sure the checkout's super simple.
Amazon has that on lockdown. In fact, when you think about conversion rate, you look at Shopify being at 3.3% out of top 20%. Like Amazon conversion rates for when people land on listings, like if you're under 10%, you're doing some very wrong things. Like that is, you want to see that above 10% from a conversion rate standpoint at a minimum. So it's really interesting how they have that on lockdown. But I 100% agree. Like I think making sure you have really clean checkout. And the nice thing is that once you get people to the checkout process, Shopify does have a really clean checkout process. Like they've optimized it, and it does
as long as you've rigged up your theme properly. Yeah, I mean, right.
But if you put like 5 things in front of it before they get there, then you have to be mindful. But that's one of the ways that
what else comes to your mind in terms of different ideas for how to tune up your site beyond checkout?
Beyond checkout,
or related, whatever. So,
you talked about site speed. That's obviously things that you can improve on.
Yep.
That's related.
That's a tough one though. Talk through how we serve clients in that regard. Yeah.
So a lot of times people think, well, all I need to do is make sure my images are right. That's usually that's usually where most people stop. But in reality, what really slows down your site is all of the other pieces of code and all your different JavaScripts that are running before your site even loads. So you really
your
have
API
to be
calls
mindful.
On and on and on.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So what we do for clients is we have a tool set that we use and our developers use to go in and basically optimize that dynamically, so that it eliminates that process and really reduces your speed. And it has a really radical improvement. Now, obviously, we do all the image stuff and compressing that and lazy load, and there's a lot of different things technically that we do for clients. But as part of our standard Shopify support packages that we roll out for folks, site speed optimization is one of the first things that we tackle, because we now have it in such a way that we can implement it, and within 30 days you're going to see a really powerful. A lot of times it's faster than that. It's just a huge lift what that is, and it's quick for us to implement an easy win for clients from that standpoint, and it does make a difference.
It's interesting that Shopify has sort of the tools to show you what your site speed is, but not really set of tools to help you get it improved so much. Right. It's kind of like they point out to you when you're below average, or when your site's slow. They don't really give you the toolkits, which is we've put together. We've worked with partners and have an amazing set of tools that we implement on sites And our sites, as soon as we work with them in that way, start flying. The metrics go nuts, and super positive outcomes. So site speed is absolutely one that I think is one of those. It's like the silent killer hiding in your site is what I like to call it. I wrote in the book. It is the silent killer, conversion killer hiding on your website. And because you don't really, if you're not in the weeds pretty good, you know what to do. And so that's why we work with a lot of clients on that topic. Okay, so checkout process being streamlined, site speed. What comes to mind technically on the websites?
I think when you start to think about that, you want to think now as you get the speed done, your checkout process as streamlined as possible. Then it starts to move into your branding of visuals, your copywriting. Is that aligned, right? So one of the mistakes that we see new clients that start with us make is they don't really have a clear target audience, target customer in mind with what they're doing. They're trying to sell to everybody, and you can't sell to everybody. You could if you were infinitely rich and you could market and build your brand, but most of us have a budget that we have to operate in, right? So you have to narrow your scope and really define who your target audience is. And so we've seen the clients that have done the best with that is they really match the visual nature, the copywriting, the language, the images, the video, and really sort of optimize their message for their target customer and finding that great product market fit. And they have the fastest success, right? And it takes time to get there. Like, you don't necessarily start knowing it out of the gate. You have to kind of work your way towards it. But when you have seen that occur, you start to see that conversion rate go up. You start to see your marketing dollars that you're spending just become more and more efficient because now you're talking to your ideal customer. And so aligning all of that, I think, is also an important part of your site features and functions, because in our minds, we think we're there. But in reality, when we actually go through the checklist and process, we're like, oh, there's still some gaps. And this isn't really who I want to be talking to. So we have to pivot some of our copywriting and our images to make sure that we're doing that.
Yeah, the avatar piece is really interesting because I kind of feel like the more the internet ages, and more competition comes along, the more you have to really get clear on your unique customer you're looking at, your avatar. Because, in the olden days, if you were in some category and they're like, oh, yeah, there's 19 of us in that category, or 5 of us, or whatever it is, and you kind of know who you're competing against, the bigger the internet gets and the bigger, the competition gets, the more you have to really say, man, there are people coming from every angle into my niche. And so you've got to get clearer and clearer on who your ideal customer is and really write to them, create videos to them, and design the website visually for their aesthetic, for their eye. And that becomes harder and harder work. And the paradox there is that, you would think that by doing that, you're leaving a lot of sales on the table, because let's say you just announce yourself as being super like America first, patriotic. We have I'm just thinking of some of our clients, like America first, patriotic, like, this is our awesome product, and it's for those of you who like to hunt and, fish, and, you know what I mean? Like that kind of avatar. You think man, the urban city people aren't going to really want to be here. And you're like, yep, that's totally the point. These niches big enough that you can really speak to a niche audience and powerfully call to their sense of interest in the topic and their sensibilities. And so that's important. The other thing I would just say in general about copywriting and completion of your Shopify site, every client we audit a site for, there's usually several things we find on their product page that they have not included that should be included. Just general information. Is your shipping policy written on the product page so somebody can just see it right there underneath the product? And, we'll talk to people and we're like, put it on there. And like, well, it's on my footer. It's a page. Right. Like, don't make it hard for people, man. Like, put your warranty or your guarantee, put your shipping information, put your information about, like the reviews that you've gotten, or endorsements or whatever. Put it all right on your product page. Embed your video in your product page. Make it super easy so the customer just has everything that they could think of they need to say yes.
Absolutely.
And that's just sort of the basics. That's not even about avatar construction. That's just about good, solid presentation of the information you want to share with customers, so they can make it an easy yes, an easy checkout. So, okay, so that's great. So, so anything else technically on the website that stands out? I'll say a few things that are technically website related issues, and that's on the product side. It's just as easy to sell a person, a one-time product than it is to sell somebody a monthly subscription. And if you sell them a monthly subscription, then you're going to have the cash register ring every month, and your conversion rate will just compound itself as you get more and more of those people coming to the site and just instantly making it happen. And having those types of products where it's like, yes, I need to come back next week for the second edition of this item, or like the new release, or the box set comes out one at a time for 12 months, and therefore I'm coming back every month. Like, there's a million angles for creating the environment in which your product beckons people to return to your site, as opposed to a website where it's like, well, they can buy this from me and they probably won't ever need to get anything else from me again ever. That's not a good strategy. So just having the products rigged up in a way that invites people back, more and more and more, is an absolute boon to improving your conversion rate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now let's talk about traffic. So, cold traffic, hot traffic, people who are ready to buy. I would say one of the technical things on the site that's so simple to add that really helps conversion rate tremendously is the back in stock app. We've talked about this before, but if you go out of stock and your SKU count goes to 0 in the back end, and you have the out of stock app, back in stock app, depending on the phrasing, then you have a little box pops up, people enter their email address. As soon as you add inventory back to that item, they get emailed, they come back and immediately buy the product. I mean, it's just so slick. So having strategies like that help traffic be drop dead simple, converting traffic, is really helpful. And then there's always this mix of, do you have warm traffic or cold traffic coming back?
100%. And then tying that back to your avatar, right? And getting super clear on the language, the copywriting, the content on your site, translating that to your social posts, to your ads, right, that you have, just makes it it aligns that messaging. So where your ad is going and doing the targeting, right? And then they click on it and they actually get what they're expecting when they get to your site. Sometimes I've seen people that are trying to target and do a lot of other things with their advertising, but they're not actually delivering the goods when it comes to their messaging on their site, their product photography on the site, and all of the things that their ads are trying to do, the website doesn't deliver. So you will have to align that. So sometimes the quality of the traffic really is a function of the quality of the alignment that you have with your ideal customer and the offer of your product for that customer. And then once those things get aligned, the quality of traffic sort of optimizes itself over time, right? Like when you're spending money on advertising, they're only going to start feeding you your ideal customers based on the purchase history that's occurring. So as long as your messaging, your branding, and your overall like site functions and features that we talked about are optimized, like the quality of that traffic, there are always going to be traffic that doesn't convert, especially if you're trying to push at scale because you're going after new people. But typically you're going to see your quality of traffic optimized over time. And then you're also going to see different channels that are doing great. Like one of our clients, we're optimizing just their email marketing, just crushing it right now. And and we're doing some fun stuff and we've added about I think 5,000 new email emails to their Klaviyo account in the last 30 days. And that's generated like $7,000 in brand new email marketing revenue, to the point where now we're just sending stuff to them. And so email marketing crushed it for quality traffic. How do you optimize which channel? Is it your Facebook ads, or is it Google, or is your email? And you sort of sort that out over time as you invest and spend money and really test these things to find out what your best methodology is.
Do you want to mention anything that you're doing in particular that's making that magic happen through the email marketing?
I will. That will be an entire podcast upcoming episode.
Oh my, teaser. Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. As it relates to traffic, I'll just say the thing I love about conversion rate optimization is, a lot of times when we talk to clients that are just coming in, we'll do an initial consultation. They'll say something to the effect, well, I need to start doing Facebook ads. I don't do that. Or I really got late to the party on TikTok and I don't know what to do. I need to get that booted up. They'll have this mental framework that they need to do something new incrementally to increase sales. And the truth of it is, conversion rate optimization work is like just assumes no increase in traffic. Like just assume you don't do anything new for traffic. If you just double your conversion rate, you're going to be like just absolutely crazy happy. So, a lot of people just have this mindset that they don't have what they need to succeed, I guess you could say. But the truth of it is, many times the sites do have tons of traffic. So it's just a question of, can they tune up their conversion rate? What you were just saying a minute ago reminds me of just this phrase, this quote I have in the book, that trusting traffic raises the conversion rate and skeptical traffic lowers the conversion rate.
100%.
So trusting traffic. Do they trust you? Again, influencers, through your own relationship with them, they bonded with your brand or whatever. That'll raise conversion rate, and skeptical traffic lowers it. And they can be skeptical for a million reasons. But that's the hard part of working through this stuff. Okay, well, you've teased us pretty good on that email marketing to help add 5,000 people to your list and to really crush it in terms of sales. So that's a great takeaway. But what else for conversion rate? Anything else stand out to you before we have to wrap up here?
I think the degree of trust component, obviously, that you have to get reviews, right? But one of the ways when we were talking about really great conversion rate for a client was an influencer who was doing that. And that was basically somebody who already had built trust telling somebody else to go buy this product, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is, how do you leverage trust like that at scale? And I think leaning into user-generated content, leaning into people, whether it's influencers or content creators, in talking about your product at scale using video platforms and stuff like that to push that content out allows you that. One of the things that we're kind of split testing right now for a client is we just took one of their reviews. It was like a 5-star review, and we stuck it at the top of their product page as a quote. Mm-hmm. And it's above the title. It has like the total product reviews up above that with there, but it's just a quote about that product from an actual customer, elevated so that we're kind of showing that, like this is somebody else talking about the product as a headline, as a split test. And so we'll see how that ends up working out over time. But it's just going back to that idea of you don't want to be the only one talking about your product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the more you lean into that, the more that degree of trust, that factor of trust is going up. And that's really going to be a big deal when it comes to conversion rate.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll tell you just one final commentary on this that comes to my mind as we're talking about how to get conversion rate up. And that's that, if somebody's just stuck and you're like, man, I got good photos, I've got good videos, I've got good reviews, the copywriting's on point, I'm just not getting what I want. I was remember our old client who used Lucky Orange on his site, and he'd literally just watch people come onto the website.
Right. Yep.
He'd see what page that they go to. He'd watch them click around, and that's what Lucky Orange does. It allows you to see with a heat map tool, the users coming in, and clicking what they're doing on your site. You can just follow them, and like a ghost following behind the user. And he would just watch to see where they stopped, and then he'd look at that and was like, was there something there that they were looking for that's not there? Was this, what were they clicking on? What were they, hovering over? And always just ask this, like beginner's mind question, like what was the problem here? And so if you're stuck and you're not sure how to improve your conversion rate, and you're operating at a reasonably high level of traffic and professionalism, then you might install Lucky Orange for a few months and just really nerd out over your user session and see where people stop in their journey on your site, and what implications it has for how to tune things up. So that's my final commentary. Anything you want to say before we're done?
No, I love Lucky Orange. We just installed it on a couple other client sites to do that exact same thing. We talk about site features and functions. How do you know that this stuff is working? Well, you got to actually see how clients are interacting with it. And so it definitely is a great tool. Love that tool. And and if you have any specific questions on installing Lucky Orange or how to do it, you can always book a call with us as well. So we're happy to take a look at your site, do a little audit, do a little review, and see how we can jump in and give you some feedback on it. So happy to do that.
Yeah, totally right. So be sure to check out our other articles, our resources, links to our books on OmniRocket.com. There's a free 30-minute consult. Happy to jump on that consult call with you, talk about your Shopify site. And if it's a good match for us to start consulting or doing a done-for-you services, then awesome. And if you get a few tips and pointers along the way and it's not a good fit for anything else, then we've added some value to your business and we'll be glad that we were able to do that. So check it out at OmniRocket.com and be sure to listen to the next episode of the podcast as well. Thank you for your reviews and or stars and or subscribes or whatever you can do on the player of choice that you listen to the podcast on. But mostly you could just tell people about it. That'd be super awesome too. So with that, I'll wrap it there. Kyle, thank you as always for the conversation. It's a great one. See you in the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, man.